In November of this past year, November 16th to be precise, about 4 days after Veterans Day, the Westport Community Band, the band that I conduct of adults in Westport, Needham Bedford Middle School, and the Weston High School Symphonic Band and Wind Ensemble performed a concert to honor and salute America's veterans. That concert was attended by about 600 people, 600 members of our community and communities throughout Fairfield County. That concert was, the beneficiary of that concert was an organization called Purple Heart Homes. Purple Heart Homes, you're going to hear a little bit more about it from the gentleman who started it, and they're going to be talking about it. Dale Beatty and John Galino are U.S. combat veterans. They volunteered to serve and protect your freedom against global terrorism. And they came out without any thought of their own personal safety. I'm sure they were concerned that they wanted to get home, absolutely. But they fought for your freedom without any thought for themselves. In 2004, while on a mission, I'm sure you'll hear a little bit about this, Dale and John had an IED in Iraq. And Dale and John spent an enormous amount of time recovering from those injuries. Dale tells a story, I'm sure, that he was hoping just to survive. And as you're going to see, he did more than survive. He and John created an institution that helps wounded American veterans throughout the United States. Regardless of age, regardless of what unit they serve in, regardless of who they serve for, they all serve the same purpose, to protect our freedom and to protect our way of life. Now Dale, you're going to see, lost both of his legs in that IED explosion. He spent a year in the hospital recovering. Yet all he thought about was coming back and giving back to a community. He also plays the drums, and part of his therapy to come back was to play the drums again. He plays in a group called There you go. And he's going to play with us. What we've got in front of you right now is the group that we call Out of the Box. It's a group of 9th and 10th graders who play jazz with us on Wednesday nights and during the mornings before school. We're going to play 2 songs for you. And I thought it'd be really cool if the person who played the drums was Dale Beatty. So if you would please help me thank him for coming. Dale Beatty, come on. I'm still amazed at that. So, very good. Ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. That was an Earth, Wind & Fire tune from a Beatles chart called Gotta Get You Into My Life. You may have recognized the tune. This next piece has a little bit of, we're going to do one more for you, but it has probably a little bit more significance when you think about the title. Average White Band is known for it. It's called Pick Up the Pieces, and you may recognize this melody, but Pick Up the Pieces could be a pretty important thought as we look at what we're going to be talking about in the next couple of minutes. So here we go, Average White Band, Pick Up the Pieces. Hey guys, Del Baby.
Thank you. Thank you guys, you're great. A lot better musician than I am, so keep learning how to read music, because I never did that. Glad to be here with you all today. Thank you, Sal, for hosting us and putting this on. And thank you for the fundraiser you had last November. It's a tremendous impact for Purple Heart Homes and our mission. Today I don't want to spend a lot of time. You guys can go to our website and see our story. I'll tell a little brief story, but I want to leave most of our time for you to ask intelligent questions. What are you laughing about? You have some, right? So, we're here for you guys to help you understand whatever you might want to understand about the military or our service. But John and I joined the National Guard in 1996. We performed several deployments in the state of North Carolina for hurricanes and floods. In 2003, we were alerted that we were going to Iraq. We deployed to Iraq in 2004 and served 10 months there until the time of our injury. We as soldiers, we're not just trigger pullers. We don't just go over there and blast everything away. And we as soldiers have to learn how to be leaders. We have to learn how to make do with what you have and accomplish a mission regardless of what challenges you may have in front of you. And that's what it is to be a soldier. And to do that for all of you who are back here at home, while we're over in the desert, or as in World War II in Europe, or in Vietnam, we're over there feeling what we feel is our duty, that if we're fighting the enemy somewhere else, he's not going to be here. And I can tell you that this world is a lot crueler and a lot more destitute than you guys can really even imagine. And there's a lot more evil in this world than you guys have ever been exposed to. And John and I had to go deal with that. That was our job. And it was not easy, but we didn't do things as individuals. We were always as a team. We're always together. We're always taking care of each other. We're always reaching back to pull the guy behind us up beside us. And that's what, to me, it meant to be a soldier. So after our injury in 2004, I spent a year at Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Washington, D.C., learning how to walk again, recovering from all of my injuries, which were pretty substantial, and was fortunate to have my wife and my children there with me. But after that year ended, I came home to North Carolina, and my local community, it's a smaller town. There's not many veterans there. I was the only person from Iraq to be severely wounded like this, and my community jumped on board, and they didn't get anything. They didn't even get a tax write-off, and they donated to me to help me build my house. And that experience, really, it proved to me and my family that my community was that key factor in a best-case scenario for reintegration into society. You may always hear about veterans, they need to reintegrate. You may hear that term from time to time. We as soldiers, we're told, hey, go reintegrate into your community when you get out. The communities are never told that they have a part in this reintegration. And my community made that huge impact on me of that reintegration. Made it positive for me and my family. And John and I looked at the experience that I had, and that was the example for founding Purple Heart Homes. And we know that statistically, we started studying all these issues, all these problems, the numbers of veterans out there, where they were. Only 20% of the total veteran population are Iraq and Afghanistan veterans. The rest, 80% of our veteran population in this country are older than me. So they have a lot of needs too. Their service is no less important than mine. And we founded Purple Heart Homes with the belief just to provide people with safe housing or opportunities to become homeowners for the first time. And we have done that. We've completed 30 projects to date since 2008. And it's made a huge impact on me and on the veterans we serve, but also on their communities. That these communities now see that it is their responsibility to take care of soldiers that come back or people in our midst that may be different or may be suffering a disability or an injury. They are no less deserving of our support than every able-bodied person in your community. So, I just want you guys to quickly get a grasp of who we are, how we came to form Purple Heart Homes, and just for you guys to realize, John and I do not have a college education. We served in the military. Our military was our education. And we've been able to grow a nonprofit company solely based off an idea to help other veterans. And we've been very successful, and it's only because of all the support we've gotten from great communities like Weston. And a lot of students, a lot of younger people have come out and volunteered on our projects. So I just want you guys to know that even with a simple idea and a passion for change, you can make an impact in this society today. You are not relegated to being able to do what you're told. Well, maybe you are here, but when you guys get older, you'll see you can go as far as you want with an idea like that. And we've done it without education, and we've just tried and put our nose to the grindstone, and we've found the people that help us. They've come along the way. We have a great team that we built, and we are really changing the way communities think about their responsibility for veterans in their midst. And my passion is veterans. Yours may be rescue animals or feeding starving children somewhere. It doesn't matter. It's having that thought to make a positive change in this world. And you guys can do it with a simple idea. So I just want you to take that with you. Don't forget it. And don't take it out on the jazz band because I'm a bad drummer, okay? Really, guys, I want this for you. And you guys have questions. I can stand here and talk for the whole time, but I would rather have some interaction with you and maybe get a chance for John if he wants to say a few words to you guys as well. So, no one?
Well, let's see if somebody has a question. Do we have anybody at all that has a question for either John or for Dell? Then I know that there'll be more after we get started. I have one. So, we have one right here.
Don't be scared. Come on.
Yeah, thank you very much, first of all. I just have a question regarding, I read constantly about veterans having, you talk about immigration access and things like that. Every day, you hear more and more about the struggle that's involved with that and veterans taking their own lives and things like that. Do you think in the future that the ability to help veterans will be more in private, charitable, efforts like yours, or do you make in any capacity to try to get the government to do more to take care of veterans when they return home? Because it seems as though there's a great willingness to send them off to protect their freedom or for whatever reason they go off to fight, but then when they get back home, there's kind of like ignorance as to their plight and then the issues that they face. So do you think the best chance going forward is for private interests to try and take care of veterans, or to try and solicit the government to actually devote more to actually doing so?
That's a good question. Did you guys all hear that? Okay. The VA, we are the only country in the world that has a Veterans Administration hospital. It is the largest healthcare facility in the world. It has more patients, more doctors, more buildings, and we are the only country in the world that has that for its veterans. And yet we still think we're not doing enough. My opinion, you can't solicit the government. The way we can affect legislative change to make better laws or better benefits for our veterans, certainly the government, that is in their realm of responsibility. However, I believe that organizations in the private side, and especially like ours with Purple Heart Homes, the way we get to come to a community and connect with you in the community and work with you, you are the public and you're also the private at the same time. And if you guys as students and as children now, you're still minors, but you guys as young adults, when you become of age and you have children of your own, what are you going to say to your kids about how you should treat veterans or how you should respect veterans? So the answer is to not let that respect for those individuals in our society and our communities go away. Because if the community always continues to have that in front of mind, it doesn't matter what the government does, we can take care of our own. And that's my opinion, that we gotta get our communities more engaged around taking care of what's inside. Not just veterans either, everything in our communities. So thank you.
Well, we got started. Does anybody else have a question? Well, up there, hang on just for a second. You want to meet me halfway?
I was just wondering if you ever regret your decision to join the service, or if you think that what you learned in the service and all that outweighs what you lost from going to war.
Okay, say the second part again.
I was wondering if you thought that what you learned in the service outweighs all of the stuff you would have learned at college and what you lost from the war.
Certainly, I don't regret my decision to join, even after this. And I think the things I learned in the military about leadership, about people, about working as a team, about accomplishing a mission, I mean, just the numerous things you have to do all the time. It does have value. I don't think it could outweigh a college education, but it's a different type of education. We get relegated to thinking we have to meet a certain level of academic criteria or your curriculum. And fortunately, I haven't had to deal with that in a while, but it was that my curriculum was in the desert, was just trying to survive. And when you do that, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about how far you can push yourself. And the most impactful thing that happened to me was to see how people in Iraq lived with dirt floors, flies all over the kids' faces, no clean water, no running water, and just to know how good we have it here. And then to see what the other parts of the world actually live like. That was invaluable in just educating me about the state of our planet. It's more than just the United States. I mean, that to me really impacted me, and I know it did John, to personal families of Iraqi people that we knew and we saw on a regular basis. And all they wanted was just to live a safe and happy life and raise their kids like we do. And it was a tremendous experience.
Anybody else?
Please, it's kind of boring up here.
Don't be afraid. Hang on.
Way up there.
We got one here first and up there.
So I was just wondering how the military changed your character, if you can name a few things.
Well, it definitely made me more respectful. It taught me self-discipline, and it taught me, it gave me intestinal fortitude to know when I can push myself beyond my physical or mental limits to do further or better than I have before. And, I think, like I said before, a lot of what you learn in the military is just people skills, problem solving, situational problem solving skills, because sometimes the worst thing you can do is not make a decision. Even if you make a bad decision, sometimes that's better than making no decision at all. So getting rid of that indecisiveness in my character was definitely one of the things that, I learned there, enabling me to make decisions.
Where do we have one up someplace? Where else? Come on, meet me halfway, would you?
So, where are your projects being built? Everywhere or just in a certain area?
Good question. We actually came and we're doing a project over in Pauling, New York, so not too far away from here. We have two programs. One, we perform remodels on veterans' houses at no cost to them, and that area is east of the Mississippi River. Every state east of the Mississippi we want to work in. We also have a home ownership program, and that's generally in the southeast, and we're trying to grow that to help people become first-time homeowners. So generally East Coast, I would say, but we're trying to reach the largest concentrations of veteran populations, which is California, Texas, Virginia, and those states that we can't get to them yet because they're so far away. But there's a lot of veterans out there in need.
Dale, could you tell us about the first Purple Heart home how did you find it, and how did that first, other than yours, how did your first attempt at making a veteran's life easier, how did that happen, and what was the circumstance?
Okay, we helped a Vietnam veteran. His name was Kevin Smith. He served in the Vietnam War on an aircraft carrier. He worked on the deck of an aircraft carrier, which is one of the most dangerous jobs in the military. He was injured on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier during Vietnam. We met him actually, John's mother met him, and we were looking for our first project to do. And this guy lived in an older house that was in a pretty bad shape, and he was falling down his steps all the time because they were horrible steps. So we went in and we simply put a deck and a wheelchair ramp onto the house to enable him to use his wheelchair. Well, when we first met Kevin Smith as a Vietnam veteran, we said to him, and John and I make it a point mostly to say to all Vietnam veterans, welcome home, because that generation of veterans was mistreated. They were treated like y'all can't even imagine. Spit on, called baby killers. They couldn't get a job because they were a veteran. Those guys did not even claim to be veterans because they knew they wouldn't get a job. And for 40 years, Kevin Smith, nobody cared about his service, nobody worried about him, and the people around him didn't even know he was a veteran. So when John and I first met Kevin, we told him welcome home, and he broke down crying and said, nobody's ever told me that before. And you know, that impact on John and I, we knew then that the after effects of that project, you know, led to Kevin becoming more outgoing, having a lot better opinion about life, living and being happy, not worried about the way he wasn't thanked for his Vietnam service as a Vietnam veteran, because we made Kevin feel the same as us. And myself and John, we've only ever been honored and thanked and appreciated for our service. And those guys were completely just left out in the cold. So that impact on that one veteran showed us the pain and the suffering that Vietnam veterans have been going through for the past 40 years, and then two, that we do have the ability to provide a proper reintegration for that veteran, even 40 years after he came home from the military. And not only that, we've had other Vietnam veterans work on projects for younger veterans, my age or younger, and just the act of them being there working on a project for these younger veterans has provided them that same type of healing and same type of being able to let that burden go that nobody honored their service. So it's amazing the psychological impact and the emotional impact we can make by simply building a ramp on someone's home.
Somebody else? Right there? Come on down.
My question is, as minors, do you know of any organizations in the Northeast that we could get involved in, or anything that we can do as minors?
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple projects coming up, I think pretty close to here. And certainly, we don't want to turn you guys away if you want to come out and be a part of what we're doing. If you want to be a part of the work, you can pick up trash, you can paint. I'm not going to give you any power saws or hammers probably, but you know, there are things you can do on a job site to help support this, like feeding or getting water to the volunteers. And not only that, you guys have the capability to be fundraisers yourselves. I mean, if you got to walk around the room here and say, hey, everybody give me $1 for this cause that I'm interested in, how much money would you have? Enough to do something with. So don't sell yourself short that because you're a minor, you can't impact the cause like that. And you know, hey, Purple Heart Homes is in the Northeast, but I leave it to you to look at what organization you want to support, but you guys can make an impact. And when people see that you get excited and pumped up about supporting the cause. You know, there's nothing that makes me happier to see younger guys your age take an initiative to do something besides playing Xbox or hanging out with, you know, with your iPhones or whatever. But you guys can make an impact in your community. You just got to choose to do it.
What was it like being away from your family this a certain amount of time?
That was by far the worst part of my deployment. And for me, it was a little bit different. I had a son who was about 1.5 years. My wife was pregnant with our second child. I went to Iraq. I came home for 15 days when he was born. So I got 7 days with my son, and then I had to go right back to Iraq. And that was the worst. That was the worst part of my deployment, was being away from them and missing so much of my son's life. The first 6 months of his life I missed because I was over there. And you know, we've since had another child. We have a little girl now, and I've really made it a point to stay at home a lot more and get those things, get that time with her that I missed with my son Lucas. But definitely, it is one of the most difficult things that soldiers have to go through, worrying about if everything is okay back home while they're trying to just survive. And very, very good question. It was tough.
Next. You want
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I was hurt on November the 15th. I was in northwestern Iraq. I was back in the United States on November the 19th. And then 58 days after the explosion, they had me walking in parallel bars with prosthetics. Granted, I didn't walk. I walked from like here to there, and that was it. But you know, less than 2 months after being on the battlefield and being blown up, they had me up walking in less than 2 months. And then for a year, I would say, I went from, you know, crutches to 2 canes to 1 cane. And, you know, eventually I was able to be strong enough and learn how to use my prostheses enough that it didn't really, you know, I'm strong enough now. But it just that type of impact on your body. I went from 200 pounds down to about 160. I was really sick for a long time, so this building the strength back up. But I think I might still have the record for being the first one to walk so quickly after getting hurt. But that experience, being there and seeing other people, you know, on a bed, a therapy mat, right next to you, who have injuries worse than you. I knew guys who were missing all 4 of their limbs or 3 limbs, and I knew that it wasn't for me to sit there and feel sorry for myself when I'm looking at a guy who will never have the quality of life that I will. So it was about a year total until I'm a little bit healthier than now, though. About a year.
Next.
Come on down. Or just yell it out.
Yeah. So when you create a nonprofit organization, do you see any opposition to this, whether private or government, or is there any data that expertise from like a county or something in the management corporation that help you?
Oh yeah, most definitely. We've recruited and had people volunteer as volunteers, and now people come on the payroll that are professional, that maybe are retired, or at that point in their life where they want to do something to give back. And you know, we looked at our space, our nonprofit space. There are other organizations that do housing for people. You know, Habitat for Humanity. There's other veterans organizations that build housing for folks. But we are the only one, and I can proudly say it, we are the only one that is not relegated to helping just Iraq and Afghanistan veterans. We've done projects for Vietnam vets, Gulf War vets, World War II, Korea, I mean, you name it. All of those veterans are deserving, and that's really what separates us from the rest of the pack. That's a good question. We want to be,
Repeat the question, please.
yeah, he said, how far do we wish to expand? Of course, we want to be in all 50 states. Not so certain that there's a tremendous need in all 50 states, but we want to be active in all the areas that veterans live in and where the need arises. There are about 20,000 veterans that live outside the United States that are service-connected disabled. So, you know, maybe we can eventually be working in Germany or something, but for now, I would see us, you know, being completely every 50 states in the United States has at least a small Purple Heart Homes chapter that could go build ramps or go help people out with simple fixes on their homes.
Dale, that's my understanding, doing some research and reading before we got involved in our fundraising effort for you, that there are 3.5 million wounded American veterans approximately in the United States. Obviously, 3.5 million of them don't need significant alterations to their homes. But how do you identify those that are in need? I'm sure that they're very proud and not likely to come to you. What's the best way for us to maybe be involved in helping you identify what veterans might need some assistance?
Thank you, Sal. This guy's smart, huh? Don't mess with him. Really, the best way I've seen veterans identified, I mean, we obviously can take applications through our website, but it's word of mouth. And it's you guys looking and knowing that there's an older veteran next door to you, and he's a World War II vet, and you know he needs a ramp, or you know he needs his yard cleaned up. You know, you don't need Purple Heart Homes to go take that initiative. But generally, it's neighbors of these veterans who tell us about them because, like Sal said, they're proud. They always think that another veteran needs help worse than they do. So that's what I hear all the time. I'm okay. You know, I'm okay to keep crawling around on my floor to go to the bathroom because the door's not wide enough for my wheelchair. There's somebody else that needs help worse than me. And, you know, it's a difficult thing sometimes to get these guys comfortable enough to accept help, but it's not charity. It's not us feeling sorry for them. And I look at them as my brothers or my sisters in arms and their families, and that's who we're trying to take care of.
I know that
One of the things that helped me understand, and perhaps all of you can have the same opportunity, what I did was I literally went to a search engine and I Googled Purple Heart Homes. I found the website, and what you find when you're at that website is a video set of just experiences that you guys have had. And when you look at those veterans that don't identify themselves, but rather are identified by others, you watch this wonderful, engaging man turn very much happier once he realizes that somebody cares about him and somebody really is concerned with his comfort. And the one that we were talking about before, the gentleman literally felt that he was alone, felt that nobody really knew about him, nobody cared about him. That was all in the video that I was able to watch. Something else that you find if you do a search engine search for Purple Heart Homes is that Dale was nominated as one of America's heroes by CNN. And I think that that's quite an honor, Dale, so congratulations.
I want to do a quick poll. How many of you guys have veterans in your family, you know, in the past 2 generations? Yeah, so we all have that personal connection to the military in some way, shape, or form. You know, all I ask is that you guys learn your family's history, learn who was in the military in your family, learn what they did, learn where they went, and take pride in that. Even if you never joined the military, you know, take pride in the fact that your family may have been part of defending freedoms in this country and around the world.
Well, we're just about at the end of our time. We've got a couple minutes left, and one of the things we always do right now in all of our classes is use this time for Pledge of Allegiance and to hear announcements. So I don't know, do we have those announcements with us? Are they somewhere around?
We don't, but I think the Pledge of Allegiance would be appropriate.
Well, I'll tell you what I think would be great if we could ask John, Dale, if they would lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance, if that would be okay with you guys. So how about if we do that?
pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, I think we owe Dale a tremendous thank you, not just for coming out today, not just for the service they did for our country back in 2004 and the terrible tragedy that they suffered, but also for the continuing of their efforts to make veterans' lives more palatable and more enjoyable. So what's wonderful.
I'm not playing more drums, I want to go back to class.
Thank you very much.